No, it's fine. Hello, welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Rauchenwald, on this Wednesday afternoon. I hope you all had a great week so far. As always, before we jump into the markets, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using, so the broker, that charting software, and the strategy I'm following are linked in the video description down below. So the one thing I truly recommend, if you haven't done so, is go and check out the Elliott Wave principle, which you can read online for free when you use the link in the description down below. With all of that said and done, we can jump into my portfolio. And as you can see, we have a slightly break-even start into the day. Well, what do we start today with? Usually, I think as usual, we probably will start with taking a look at GameStop. So we're gonna, first of all, I have to open up the prediction sheet, and then then we can jump into Motive Wave, and then we already have GameStop open. Now, so far it's unchanged based on our recent labeling. I expect or assume that basically we had our fifth wave finish up here, although not as a impulse, that's why we have the warning here, but as a diagonal, in which case this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, with a truncated fifth wave in this case, which means I would now expect that we are currently in the retracement of this entire move here, which means we would expect that potentially we are now, let's actually adjust that. We are now supposed to go down to potentially 25.11 or 23.17. Our position in GameStop, or my position in GameStop, is we have a total of 565 shares, and against 500 of those shares we have covered calls with an expiration on the 13th of December, based on the assumption that this corrective pattern will play out till roughly here, 12th of December, at which point we would then start to see the upwards move, which actually means, thinking about it, that if we indeed are going further down here, then I might actually already roll those options a little further, because then obviously the fifth wave move will also need a little bit to even recover where we are right now, which means markets are not yet open, so we will in 2 minutes we'll be able to check how much extra premium I could gather by rolling the options from the 13th to actually a little bit later, and if we can use that, or if it's enough to increase our position a little bit further. It would be nice to get to a full 600 shares, because that will allow us to sell one more covered call every week, which increases the premium that we earn. But yeah, outside of that, in GameStop, if we zoom out, so while we zoom too much, so while we're not 100% certain if we can label this properly as indeed a 5-wave move, so it would need to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's like just super weird. But outside of that, so this entire part here is tricky to label, and the previous correction as well. But we have clear 5-wave moves in multiple spots. We have a 5-wave move here, we have a 5-wave move here, we have 5 waves here. We have 5 waves up here, and then we have 5 waves here, correction, and 5 waves up here to what I assume is the end as set here for wave 3. If we zoom in again a little bit, so that means that basically right now we're only focusing on this last move that started on the 23rd of October. Again, where in my opinion we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although, yes, 1, 2, because then here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave. Then we have here, yep. And there actually, let's replace that so that we don't have the warning. So tools, Elliott Wave, and that would need to be an ending diagonal in there. Let's see if auto labeling gets it. Nope, auto labeling does something weird. Let's see. So in our opinion, what we have is this here. Yeah, and there are no more warnings now. Okay, so so in GameStop, as said, we would expect to move further down. If we were to break the 28.79, then obviously that would be evidence that I'm wrong here with my assumption that we finished here and are getting the correction. But so far, I think that might still play out like this. We might be looking at some form of either wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, A, B, C, and then another correction down, or we might be looking at wave A, A would need to be here, wave B, although then that move is already a little bit further than what we want to see, and then a wave C, wave down. Again, we'll got to wait and see. Now markets are open, which means we can check if we have our December 13th options that are slightly in plus. So if we use the strategy builder, we would say, okay, we buy back those options and instead go for what would be reasonable assumptions. So if we are right here, it takes till December 13th to go down here, and then it takes till 1, 2, 3, 4, and then wave 5 would be at least till here. So we could already look at the January options actually for that case. So January, and we would sell those. So we would buy back those, and if we do that 5 times, we would actually net ourselves €1,000 in premium, and that, no, it says, yeah, margin impact, mid price 185. Let's say 200 each, so that's the minus 200, of course, yeah, so minus 2. So if we can sell it, we would net $1,000 in premium and could use that to buy ourselves a few more shares. So we're actually going to make that play. So let's see. So that's again closing out our December 13th $30 call and instead selling the one here. And the medium would be, okay, 185 would also work. Okay, no, yeah, there it triggered. Okay, so now we sold that and we have $888 that we got now for that. Now in GameStop, we would need an extra, as we said, we need to have, so now our calls are rolled out as said till January. No, not January. Yeah, January 17th. And in GameStop, we would need to be able to buy an additional 35 shares to have another 100 shares to sell an option against, which, yeah, will bring us at a little temporary minus balance here. So as we can see, but yeah, so now we have an exactly 600 shares, which means we can sell another $30 call, because we are also right now below $30 still, so we can sell another $30 call, quantity 1. That's just the one thing we have to pay attention to. Mid price 490, so yeah, so $30 strike price, we sell it, we have 5 sold right now. Yeah, so that's that. And mid 485 sold. So now we have 600 shares in total, and we have written 6 $30 calls against them. We still have, which still leaves us with a $430 balance on the trade we just made. It also means that basically till January we cannot play around, or yeah, I mean, depending on what happens, we can, but basically till January we don't earn anything anymore from those shares. Now, with those shares, we can now actually, where did we want to increase? We wanted to increase our immersion position, but for that we would need $500 because we would need to buy another 50 shares. So which actually would be $431. Happens to be a nice coincidence. Okay, so, and we could then, let's see, what do we really want? So, okay, so now basically we rolled our option further to 2 again. So January 17th, we're just gonna mark that on the chart real quick. So copy this, paste it, and we'll move you till January 17th. Yeah, somewhere here. So basically we now assume that our wave 4 will go like this, actually roughly here, and our wave 5 would then go like this. Yeah, so potentially, again, I could be wrong. We go up here, and even then it might still play out in a way that the shares don't get called away early because our expiration is here. They could be called away early, but they shouldn't. And yeah, we have extra excess liquidity now, also nice. So which means we can still do something, but we want to stay within that. Before that, we got a short warning that we might be not compliant anymore. That was when we basically sold the extra call to get the premium, which we then used to actually ensure compliance again. Yeah, so that's that. Or actually, when we bought the extra shares to be able to sell the extra call. And that's that. With that, we have now 600 shares in total here, and the 6 calls in GameStop. And there were a few other things. So I said for GameStop, everything's unchanged. Sorry for the confusion, but when it comes to making those adjustments, I have to pay attention to what I'm doing. So again, it's possible that our shares might dip into the red in between if I turn out to be right here. And in that case, that's okay. We just hold on to them, and we actually would hope that then the 5th wave move actually doesn't reach the 30 mark by the time the options expire, which means we would have just basically pocketed all the premium. The worst case scenario would be that we shoot above 30, we get our 600 shares called away at 30, which means at 30, those shares would also bring another 1,500 in quotes in profit or so. So our balance would increase by another 1,500, and it would free up the entire capital, and we could then go sell puts or so. Overall, now we actually got most of our shares already paid with premium. I think half of those shares are paid with premium alone, so that's kind of nice. And if we get them called away at 30 on the last shares that we just bought in the last couple of days or so, we also pocket a small 10% profit or so, or in some cases a little bit more, because obviously we bought them here now, for example, and they would be called away at 30. Plus, we also earned the premium for selling the calls. So while, yeah, obviously we might miss out on some profit here with those shares, but at the end of the day, we still make a profit. So not too shabby, I guess. Now let's look. As I said, we still have $400 that we don't have to necessarily use. But let's look at NEO. NEO, we talked about it yesterday, that there should still be movement down. 432 would mark a good price to buy. NEO is also one of the stocks where we can write options against. So if we navigate to NEO instead, we would need NEO. We only hold 30 shares, so would need to buy 70 shares right now, which would be $300, which is actually what we're going to do then. We have 100 shares in NEO. So NEO, 70 shares, then we have 100, submit. Yeah. So there we go. Yep. So that order is executed. So we have 100 NEO shares now, which gives us the right to sell calls against NEO. Now NEO is right now at 437. The premiums there are not that choosy, especially since we're right now in a retracement. So we may or may not. Which means our average is 450, which means in total we paid $450 for our 100 shares. So if I were to go to January, we could pocket the $5 call until January. I don't expect that we will go higher. So if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, then we would expect with 5 till here. So in February. So in February, but that's February 21. Okay, so we can sell one call here for around $30 in premium. I know it's not much, yeah, but $5 call, our average is 450, which means we would pocket around 11% in profit on our shares if they get called away, plus another $33-ish. So again, mid price here, 33 minus fee, so $32 or $31. So we sell one January 17th, 25, $33 call in NEO. So let's see if we get that to fill. Let's offer it a dollar cheaper. There we go. So we then have here that call against those 100 shares, which is also not that bad right now. So as long as we stay, and that's again then also the 17th of January. So we also are going to add a horizontal line here, January 17th, extend. So that would be our option play. And our assumption would be that we're looking at 1, 2, or that would need to be a diagonal at some point. So if we go much lower, yeah, 3, 4, and then 5 should be, yeah. Actually, now revising that, let's see if we can buy one, and we want to have, we actually want to pay less. So if we can buy that back for 30, we will do it right now. So if it stays like this, we still lock in a profit, but there I actually now made a small mistake, because as for the pattern, we should potentially be at the bottom of this correction as an ABC. We reached the minimum target. There might be wave 4 and wave 5, okay, to get us a little bit lower. But the other issue is if we're here at the end now, then actually it would start the slow climb up, and then anywhere here would potentially then be higher. And since we sold the $5 covered call, we obviously would then have our shares called away at 5 instead of pocketing an extra profit here. So writing that call was not the smartest play right now, but we'll see how it goes. So if NEO goes up from here, then we'll just pocket an 11 or $12% profit here on that trade. When we could have made more, it's okay. And if it goes a little bit further down, we actually will close out this trade or that call break even right now and wait a little bit for some upwards movement before we start to write covered calls. And that leaves us with a small left balance of $170. And for that, there's not much we can do. We don't have any stocks that are cheap enough. Unless I mean, rolling out the call also doesn't make much sense in NEO. Yeah. So if I already sell it for further in the future, then we would need to ideally sell it as 950. Nah, so here the best play is likely to see if we can actually buy back the covered call that we just sold, maybe with $1 or so profit or not. Or actually, let's do this. Let's buy it back, and even if we take a minor loss here, then so be it. So yeah, let's take a $2 loss on this trade. We'll survive. Because again, our pattern here suggests, in quotes, we bounce at the 78.6 retracement. It's possible that we have a correction that's 3 waves, 3 waves, 3 waves, in which case this would indeed be the bottom. And so our 100 shares up here, if wave 5 follows this path, would actually pay us more than the $30 that we would get in premium right now. And if this plays out, we can obviously then sell covered calls here for a higher premium, way higher premium. So definitely better to wait it out. Yeah. So actually NEO right now might be an interesting entry. I already mentioned here that while I expect that there might be further downside, that slowly entering should make or doesn't hurt, which is what we did. We got a few shares here and a few more shares here. And now we actually made it a full 100, because yesterday I mentioned in the stream that there should be another push further down. In NEO, our recorded prediction is to reach 432, and that prediction is from the 18th. So from, yeah, not that old. Really, did we only make that yesterday? I assume Rai wrote it down properly. So it says that here we said that we should reach the 432. Our first profit target was actually 468. Right, there is again something doesn't add up. So here, if we look at NEO, we have our first profit target for 468, and I'm fairly certain I made that before it happened. But it says here the date is the 18th of November, which would suggest that I just here made the prediction that it will go to 468, but we had that 468 prediction at least on the chart since the 6th of November. So when we broke down here was definitely the moment when I added this expansion. So the date here, again, I assume based on what I see on the chart that on the 6th of November that I made the prediction that we should reach 468, which would be the minimum target, or 432. And because 432 would be the 78.6 retracement. Now I don't have any proof because I won't go back into the old episode, But I think again that here the episode should probably be the one from the 6th of November, if there was one on the 6th, yeah. But again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe could you please, after the stream, doesn't have to be today, but tomorrow, watch the episode from the 6th of November and check if I made the prediction there. And if yes, then please update the information that we have here. So the date, time in the stream, and the link to the stream. But yeah, it should be the 6th. So based on what I'm seeing on the chart, I think so either here on the 6th, actually, yeah. So when we broke through the low here, or maybe already on the 1st of November. So those two, please check. Start with the 6th, because that's the most likely one. But if I don't mention it then already, that we should go down to at least 490, 468 would be the minimum target, blah, 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 and 432 would the next be. So yeah, so either I mentioned it already in the episode on the 6th of November, or if it's not there, then it might already be in the episode on the 1st of November. And that obviously makes a huge difference if I already said here that the target is 468, which would be around a 10% drop still. And the second target would be 432, which would be I don't know, like almost, yeah, like 15% drop that now came true. Again, from the looks of it, I think we have three waves, and from here we would then now actually get up in our fifth wave. And while with 100 shares, we can see even if we would reach, if that's true, let's get our target predictions on the chart, which would be for wave 5, those areas here. So we would see that it would be between $200 and best case $500 profit in this fifth wave move, if I'm right, which obviously is better than pocketing $30 right now, especially because if we start to move up here, I could sell covered calls at 950, for example. That would then pay better because the movement would be in that direction, which increases a couple of the factors that influence option pricing. But yeah, you mentioned it on the 8th of November, 6th of November, there's no prediction for NEO. Do you have notes about all the episodes? That's great. So 8th of November would still be here. Okay, maybe that happened on the 6th of November. 7th, I didn't mention it. Okay, there we go, up. Yeah. So, but anyway, like it was, if I mention it somewhere here, so I don't know, we'll have to see how we do that in the future best. But the idea would be that it doesn't mention the last time I mentioned it, but the first time I made the prediction, as long as I don't in between make some completely different prediction, yeah? So that we can really see, okay, hey, I already told you guys, if it's on the 8th, I already told you guys 10 days ago that we will drop to this level, yeah? Or it will go up to that level. So it doesn't help much to say, okay, yesterday or 2 days ago, I told you we will move 1 cent, yeah? That's not like, so the price here would then also be wrong because on the 8th, even the price was 5 something. So yeah, so because that would then be useful because I could share it, for example, on StockTwits and say I already predicted 10 days ago, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, please double check that. And again, you don't have to do it today. Tomorrow is soon enough. And yeah, we're anyway not yet in the flow of actively sharing those things, but we'll have to work on making sure that the notes we keep are accurate so that we can then easily find the moment where I said it, so we can create a clip and I can quickly share it, or you can share it, or somebody else shares it, or whatever. Anyway, so NEO, we now increased our position to 100 shares. Our purchase already seems to be goodish in quotes, yeah. So we see that it looks like we're bouncing from here. I mean, no guarantees, but visually we are at the right levels. We reached the minimum target for a wave C move and so on. Could be that the correction drags out, blah, blah, blah. But overall, it looks like that actually would go here. Yeah, so it looks like this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we are about to, or should be about to get our wave 5. And that wave 5 should take us at least till here. But I would actually expect that it takes us till here. If we use Kennedy channeling technique, we have our base channel by connecting wave 0.0, 0.1, 0.0, 0.2, and parallel proof on 0.1. Very often wave 4 touches the top of the base channel, which I wouldn't have expected considering the strong move here, but it just happened. Now, however, after the base channel, what we have next is we take our 0.1, and then whatever high point we have, and a parallel through 0.2. And when we have a breakout to the bottom, yeah, which I don't count this as a confirmed breakout here. So like basically we have no candle that closes outside. Yeah, we have one that opens outside, but none that closes. So once we have a breakout to the bottom, we would be in wave 4. So again, I don't count this here, so we would move on. Still not happening, blah, blah, blah. But then here, again, making sure that we go, here we have the breakout, which means we are now officially in wave 4. Wave 4 very often, but not always, touches the top of the base channel. I would not have thought it will do that in this case, but it did, which is an additional confirmation that we now might be in wave 5. And if we are in wave 5, then we would get our destination channel. So first we would have wave 4. That's unfortunately our deceleration trend line. Not this one, but it looks similar. We would connect those 2 points and our deceleration trend line will look like this, which means only once we break this line here roughly will we have the confirmation that we're in the 5th wave. But outside of that, we can already add our destination channel, which would be 0.2, 0.4, and then the top at 0.3. And we would expect to reach the medium or the top of this channel. So looking at this, we would expect basically that by the 17th of January, we should be at $6.80 roughly. Yeah, now it's tricky right now. So can you update the existing NEO prediction? Yeah, and actually add NEO again in a new row. And then for today's episode, Mark, so today's episode right now, current timestamp of the stream, would be that we have wave 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially finished, and the wave 5 target, the next one would be, now again, let's see that I don't take the wrong things here. Where are you coming from? Okay, and where are you coming from? Okay, I have 2 on the chart here, but they're not identical. So yeah. Oh, that one I didn't draw properly. So yeah. Okay, so again, for NEO, we had our wave 1, 2, 3. We got out here from our positions. We started to slowly enter with a few shares here and then increased our position here. And then today increased it further here. From the looks of it, we have a set 1, 2, 3, 4 and should now be in wave 5. And the profit targets for NEO, again, please in a new row, would be 681 to 904 for the potential 5th wave. If we use Kennedy channeling technique, we have our base channel here, wave 1, 2. We have the breakout that points that we're in wave 3. Then we have our acceleration channel that only then here gets broken to the bottom, confirming that wave 3 is indeed finished. And then we have our deceleration trend line that actually looks like this. So unfortunately, it looks like this. So only once we break that line here will we know for sure that we are in the 5th wave. We could theoretically, if we do it like that, it's too steep. Yeah, so that would be the official deceleration trend line. So only once we have the breakout on top here will we have a confirmation based on Kennedy channeling technique that we're in the 5th wave. But we also touched the bottom, the top of our base channel here in the 4th wave, which happens very often in the 4th wave, which gives us this destination channel where we would expect to touch at least the median or the top of the channel and sometimes have a little bit of a throw over on the top, which means we would have higher profit targets as well, but the ones that we want to keep is 681 to 904. So the current price is around $4.50 or $4.51. Yeah, that anyway should be filled in automatically. Yeah, right. You shouldn't create a new row. Yeah, because I'm seeing what you're doing. 1 second, I'm gonna just take over to what you're doing right now. Yeah, I'm gonna delete that. So what you should do is you just click below. You should see my cursor as well. Yeah, you just write NEO here. And it should actually apply everything. And then you write NEO here, and then you have that. And then we have the current price, which is 541. So the one we're using, sorry that I'm doing that right now, 681, 904 would be our targets. Date would be this one here. Yeah. And the rest, I don't know. And then you can just say on the symbol column, sort from A to Z for everyone. And voila, and then we have 2 NEO entries here. Yeah, so yeah. So, but if you add a new row, it might not take all the formulas. If you just click at the bottom and then start typing, it will use the formatting of everything because everything is set up with conditional formatting that it does what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna drag this over so on the screen real quick. So we now have 2 NEO predictions: the one that already came true and the one that we make now. That's our new prediction. I might actually share that on stock trades real quick. So we would say 17th of January. We actually will give it a little bit leeway, let's say 31st of January. So I can take a snapshot from here, save this, and then on StockTwits, share. Yeah, now something's crashing, or no, still working. Okay, that's from downloads, Neo, and create position. Neo would be, what did we say? The lower one would be 6.81, and it would be on, we said end of January. Yeah, so double checking. Yep. So we're gonna go with end of January. Yep. So. $6.81. It's our average now for, yeah, so our Neo average now is 450. Great. Now, do I have Neo on my watch list? No, I don't. So where's my watch list? So, sorry, guys. I'm actually going to drag this over so you also see what I'm doing. So StockTwits. I'm trying to use StockTwits more. I have to say it's quite a toxic site. Yeah. So how do I modify my watch list here? So settings. No. View profile. Watch list. Am I dumb? Like, where's their? They also have referral links. Interesting. Did I already set that up? Just checking. StockTwits. Yes, I did. Okay. Where the heck? So it's quite a toxic site. There are a lot of people that just bitch around if you share small positions, as if everybody would be a Warren Buffett out there. But overall, it has nice features. Now, how the fuck? There, edit watch list. Yeah, so edit search symbol Neo. There we go, Neo. There you go. Okay, and with that, I should have Neo in my newsfeed as well. And if we go on my profile, we should see the latest prediction. Yeah, which means I can also, again, multitasking here, share. Yeah, so that actually should have this now as a reply or not. Yep. Let's see how this works. So I'm curious to see. I mean, StockTwits might be a decent way to also keep track of predictions, while at the same time get some extra eyes on the stream. We're not making a lot of progress today, but we made actually quite some changes in our portfolio. So we reached the milestone 600 shares in GameStop. We'll have to see if my prediction there will prove to be right or wrong. I mean, yeah, right now, yeah, it could still go both ways. So could be. But even if I'm wrong, I still make money here. So although it's then less than it could be, but yeah. We can see that here, yeah, like if this were in some form ABC, then we would still expect to reach the 38.2 retracement, which is not as far down as I expected it to go, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if I'm proven wrong, I'm probably already gonna be proven wrong this week, and then we would either this week or next week maybe already have our shares called away, which would just mean we lock in quotes, or realize our profit on those shares. Which still leaves me with my shares at ComputerShare to actually write the long-term moves. So yeah, yeah. So we covered GameStop, we covered NEO. For NEO, we now have for now 2 predictions. The old one is or stays there in the chart because we might actually duplicate that, and so we have then current and rename past. So we could then out of here basically, so of the past predictions, for now I can just delete rows, and then also those one I would remove. Does that? Yeah, so that in past we only have that, and in current predictions we would have the new NEO prediction that now is again sort from A to Z, and we just delete the old one. So when we add a new prediction and the old one happened, we can keep it in the past column, and that way it's easy then. I mean, there is still then please add the timestamp episode link and so on for November 6th, 8th, or whatever it was, yeah. But this way we know this already happened, and we can then based on that yeah, share the exact clips from the old episodes to point out where I'm right. And I think StockTwits will also help us to show where I'm wrong. I'm not sure if there is anywhere on StockTwits where it's kind of like providing a summary of my predictions or something like that. But yeah, who knows? We'll see. And we'll just have to check that in the future. Anyway, moving on. So NEO seems to be that it wasn't such a bad move on first glance. We will see in a couple of days if it indeed turns out right and we hit our bottom here and are now on our trajectory up here, which, while not making us rich in any way, unfortunately, will still as a percentage, or would still as a percentage be a decent payoff. If I'm right, and if I'm completely right, we might look at let's actually get a trend line here and then just move it. If we are right, we would look at reaching that point much sooner. I don't think it will go that fast, but theoretically possible. And we would lock in 100% return in best case a month, worst case 2 or 3 months, assuming I'm right. If I'm wrong, obviously we might lock in a loss, but yeah, so our exposure is also not big. So moving on, so we covered GameStop, we covered NEO, we still have, as we said, $137 in cash balance left right now, which means, let's take a look at Barnes & Noble. We believe that we might be bouncing here on the 78.6 retracement. We are at a slight $5 pending loss here with our shares that we bought at, I don't remember where exactly we bought them. I think we bought them here because we mislabeled, or I mislabeled that correction initially. And no, actually we bought some of them we bought here, yeah, at the bottom at 845, and some manually here. But we also had an earlier position that was from somewhere here already, so where we got it slightly wrong. Now, in BNet, so Barnes & Noble Education, we have 35 shares. we would need to pay $650 if we want to make it to $100 here, which we don't have. Increasing that position right now, therefore, we might still, it's at a point where we believe we might have the end of the correction and go up further. Our exposure is not too big with $350, so we might just get an extra 10 shares right now. I mean, slow but steady accumulating. 10 shares, $100, doesn't use our cash balance, so there we go. So now we're here at $45, so if we're right here and we indeed finish the correction and go up from here, then that should pay off nicely as well. Again, not making a switch. Also have to adjust then our take profit order. That's right now for 35 shares, and we would want to make this then for 45 shares. So to take our profit there for here. If we are right and the third wave takes us up here, although if we are looking at this, so we would have 1, 2, 3. We're going to stick with that take profit. So there could be an argument made that the target will be higher, but I'm going to check our sheet. So for BNet, we have on the chart predictions 1419 to 1977. So this is here till here, and we'll see if we are right here. So pattern unchanged. It looks like we might have bounced on the 78.6 retracement. If we look on a very small scale, we would also have a base channel that roughly goes here. We would have our breakout, we would have the retracement down. So it's kind of like this area here would be very similar to what we have in NEO. With this move here, strong upward move, stronger correction, bouncing at 78.6 at the top of the base channel. So it's a very, very similar setup, just on a much smaller scale. And we'll just have to wait and see if we are right with that or not. So that's BNet, blah, blah, blah. Moving on to Grab. Grab, we finally broke the 100% point, which was a crucial point here, because this would be the usual, while it's not yet the maximum target, we'll have to be careful before we say something wrong. The maximum target would be at 781. If we assume this might only be an A-B or A-B-C correction before we go further down, which means our call for Grab, while it's obviously not the biggest trade with $50 risk in total, is right now already 200% in profit. Can we open the performance profile? So if we look at the values at expiration, we can see that if we were to reach what would be our targets here, our targets would actually be 942 to 1088. If we were to reach that, although that's for 26, if we reach it sooner, we get more. So we can see at 973, the option at expiration would pay $423, which is 8 times our risk on that position. If we go higher, it might even be more than that. So our risk reward ratio on this trade is great, even though we only invested $50 somewhere back here. Question is, we could still be wrong. It could still turn out right now that it's A, B, C, and we go down from here. Visually, however, one would have to expect, we're not zooming in here, we stay on the weekly chart. Our exposure is not big enough to justify zooming in, yeah. So, but visually, if we look at this might be wave 1, 2, which means our wave 3 target 3, 4, 5 possible, or wave 3 will finish here and then 4, 5. So still a lot of things possible with Grab in terms of, we're still not 100% sure. Our prediction still stays 942 to 1088, which would be for the assumption that this is 1, 2, 3. And yeah, so gonna be interesting to see if and how fast that plays out. Immersion, yeah, unchanged. We're waiting for upward move to confirm correction done at the 100% mark. We have a few things that point towards that, or downward move to prove us wrong. Yeah, we got some shares here, and we're going to hold those shares. Our exposure here is also not that big, as we can see. Yeah, cost, do we get a chart? Yes, we get one. Still unchanged. It's moving sideways, and we're waiting for the break to the top. So breaking this high here or breaking this bottom here to confirm correction over or correction continues. And Novavax, yeah, like we believe that we now actually finished the correction. I called it early and wrong, unfortunately, here, and didn't take profits on the few call options that I had here. And now we'll just see and hope that the correction isn't, I mean, hope in quotes, that we're indeed finished here and are now going to see our upwards move, in which case, however, it might still be too late because our options expire in January and we would need quite some upward movement till then to get them into profit. If we're lucky and we get a wave 1, 2 and a strong wave 3 move, we might be able to close them early and yeah, like then reposition ourselves. But for now, we're just gonna keep our calls and not make any adjustments further to that position, and we're not gonna add additional funds to it, but we're just gonna wait and see how it plays out. And that's that about Novavax. Now, moving on, looking at some of the crypto stuff, Bitcoin is still moving upwards, so it looks like we indeed just had a small correction here. I think I mentioned it yesterday already that it looks like I judged it too early. For my position, it's not that super relevant. We focused on just labeling, or not labeling, just estimating this part here. Looks like I said we have a corrective wave followed by another 1, 2, 3, and here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, small correction. So there's still more room. Psychologically, I would say we bounce at 100,000. That would make sense that there are a bunch of people taking profit there. Yeah. Now looking at Ethereum still is in the area where I think I could be proven right that we indeed will retrace down to the 38.2 or 50% retracement. As said, I have pending orders here, here, and here. We'll see how that plays out. Surprisingly, one thing that moved surprisingly unexpectedly was I have to zoom out here, probably let's try a 4-hour chart, was XYO, which is some cryptocurrency. Oh, that actually now visually is like a slightly different thing. That one comes from here. And then, yeah, should have zoomed out further. So I sold my XYO tokens roughly here, which obviously means I missed out on compared to the best case 100%. Yeah, although I didn't have a lot of them, so we're not talking about thousands of dollars, so it's not the end of the world. Visually that actually shows upward movement possible, and actually quite a decent amount. 1, 2. Then we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe not even finished. And then wave 5 would already take us up here, actually higher. So 3, 6, 1. Might actually cancel my Ethereum pending orders and instead jump into XYO again. Yeah.
I just did daily mining just and they had the pop-up that the XYO is a top gainer on Coinbase.
Yeah.
Probably because of the Upland partnership.
I don't know. They already have a longer partnership from what I understand. I just noticed today that it's like something, yeah. But maybe it's because of the Upland partnership. We'll have to dig into that separately, yeah. But visually, this looks like we basically have wave 1, wave 2. And for the third wave, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, and wave 5 still to come. And then we have the overlap in the target areas here, which means I would expect that this move here takes us from 0.8 still to yeah, like I'm actually going to do that real quick on Coinbase. So thankfully, we're not talking about huge amounts of money. So advanced, and then I'll have to close my pending orders. Might be proven wrong with that, so might be that it obviously doesn't pay off, but we're gonna just limit price, actually let's do it like this, and that should then mean that so because visually this would be a set wave 1, wave 2. We haven't hit the wave 3 target yet because we shot more or less through the 261.8, and more precisely, we actually have here 1, 2, 3, 4, retracing 50%. In that thing, if we zoom in, we can see that we likely have an ABC pattern finished here that also follows all the rules very nicely, and which would point towards we get a wave 5 that brings us up till here, which would then overlap with the wave 3 target, which means I already can set my sell order at So where was XYO? 1 second. Yeah, so I'm just doing that on the other screen real quick. So that would be sell XYO as a limit order, and we would sell it at 0.01395 and would then sell 0.01395. Yeah. So while I believe that Ethereum will follow the pattern and will go down here, but if we get into Ethereum here or even here and then have another wave up, we would look at 20-30% return. So obviously XYO is here the position with a little bit more risk, yeah. And again, not trading a fortune here, but we're talking about a like 3-figure amount. But on the other hand, if I'm right with XYO here with the pattern forward, although I have to say I got this, I didn't zoom out, I didn't see the possibility that this might be wave 1, 2, yeah. Yeah, happens. And so while I believe, or if I'm right here, then we're talking about basically almost 100% return here. For the third wave, then we get a wave 4, which might potentially allow us again a cheaper entry, and then for the fifth wave again, which means there might be, if I'm right, I could always be wrong, but if I'm right, there might be anywhere from 100 to I don't know, 200-300% possible in the next couple of weeks actually. So we'll just do it like this, yeah. Again, could be wrong and basically drops down, lose 50% on the couple hundred that I just invested here. That's just part of the game. Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right, but that's why we look at things like that. On the contrary, if let's check what's going on here. There, Storge as well. So I have to say with my recent, Storge by far not as well, yeah. Or yeah, there we actually, I'm got out roughly at the current price. But overall, also the pattern, I should have zoomed out here. So I have to chastise myself here for not zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, because I was only focused on this 5-wave impulse up and the correction that came here without considering the previous movements. Yeah, so again, I think Ethereum still correcting, should reach 2,980.35 or 2,849.41. We don't need to track that in our sheet because like maybe at some point we add the crypto prediction as well, but for now it's fine. XYO shows signs that there might still be a fifth wave to come to just finish 1, 2, 3. Then we would get another fourth wave, and then we would get a wave 5. So therefore, quite some potential, although also decent risk. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about a primary coin like Bitcoin. So yeah. The other coins we don't bother with. We move on. We have predictions for Amazon. So where we are still, we're looking at a weekly chart and we have to label the subwaves. But overall, we expect that either this should be the end of wave 3. The only other alternative would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then actually this would be our wave 3. So right now we have two things. So on one hand, we have our prediction right now here that we will go up here to 251.40 to 344.80. However, if this would mark wave 3, then what actually would happen is that we first retrace this. So, which would be quite a decline, because we would go down to 153.36 in that case, because that would be the area of wave 4 of the previous impulse wave, as well as being the 38.2 retracement. So we would get A, B, C and drop, what's that then, 25%. And then it would also change our target areas upwards a little bit, but not too much. But at the end of the day, it would just mean that it will take longer. So there's the scenario where I'm right and we go here. There's the scenario where I'm partially wrong. This is actually the end of wave 3 where we bounce at the 2618 extension instead of the 2382. In which case we would first lose 25% or so go into that area before we then go up and go up even a little bit further. So again, I would actually technically still be right as far as profit targets go. It just would mean that it would take us longer to even get there. But the return would still be, what is it, 20 to more than 50% over, I don't know, next year or so. Maybe it might be longer if we first get a correction. So still okay return. And the third option is I'm completely wrong and we just go down or so, or further down than I expect. Yeah. So, but I like the pattern, although we don't have a horse in that race. So even if I'm wrong or right, I don't win anything from that. So, but yeah, our Amazon prediction, therefore, for now stays unchanged. I just want to point out that there is the alternative scenario that this is actually the official end of wave 3. We had been at, what's DJT doing? Do we get a chart today? At the current price level, we made the prediction that we're going up to 32.16 or 33.81, 32.16. No, that doesn't seem right. That says also from the 18th, which is 2 days ago. So they're also right. I think there's some issue here with the DJT. So it also says 18th of November. Oh yeah, and no, the predictions are right. I was in the wrong row. Never mind. I looked at GameStop, but we're actually here. Yeah. So sorry, my mistake. There is nothing wrong. So our predictions are those here: 68.25 to 125.18, or my prediction. Yeah. Based on the assumption, this looks like a finished corrective pattern. Doesn't have to be, but we have again multiple things. We had a correction here in that area, which might be wave 4 of the previous degree. It's the 50% retracement level. We have a clear free wave move here and so on. So there are a few things that points toward this being the corrective wave, which gives us now the next wave targets here. And we'll just have to wait and see if this turns out to be wave 1, 2, wave 1, 2, which means in the next couple of, we're looking at a 4-hour chart, in the next couple of days and weeks, we should get strong upwards movement if I'm right. Yeah, we don't have a horse in that race. Options for DJT are probably off the charts in terms of premium or not. DJT. Yeah, a couple $100 for even shorter term expiration options. So, and if we were to go further out, let's actually check option strat for a second. Option strat, optimize DJT, and our targets would be 68.25. Question is till when. If we go for max return, yeah, there are no, so like, I mean, obviously 600% return would be amazing, but we would have to put up at least $250 to make one of those trades, and that's considering that it would have to happen till March. So we'll stay out of it, but prediction stays unchanged for now. And yeah, so that's DJT, Grab we had, Immersion we had, Intel we don't have a prediction, and it will not change for some time based on the pattern. Now with this movement here, we can make a short-term prediction, but we don't have to write it down, that we are currently in a corrective pattern that is going to take us further. No, we hit the minimum target, but we should still go lower than here. Looking at this, we have a nice overlap here. So hi Akashi, great to have you here. And if you rewind the stream a little bit, in case you can, we were looking at the XYO token that surprisingly I only today noticed also as a partnership now with, so the one from CoinApp that now has a partnership in some kind with Upland. And yeah, anyway, so for Intel, we might actually make a prediction, but no, it's not worth it. It's like we're talking about a very small difference here, yeah. So 23 to 22, but I believe we'll go down to 22.83. Rai, you don't have to write it down. It's like a very, very small move, yeah. So yeah, so I believe that we will have here ABC that might then potentially finish this corrective move before we go further up. But again, we will not make a new prediction for quite some time because of this one candle move that basically finished an entire wave, hit our bottom target, and after that our next wave top target. So yeah, we'll stay out of this for a little bit, yeah. But visually, just this part here looks like we'll still get to 22.83. Moving on, NVIDIA, we don't have any labeling on the chart, so we also for now stay out of it, yeah. And that brings us to SPY, where we don't have a prediction on the chart right now because we also don't have it labeled. And again, we're in overtime today, so not gonna label it today. What? Ah, light, yeah. Now it's too bright, yeah. It's getting dark outside. We're spending the whole day here looking at charts. SPY is not loading, so we don't care for now. Which brings us to the NASDAQ, where again, we also only have a big long-term prediction, so we'll leave that out. So I think that's it for today. What are interesting things in the crypto area? XYO, definitely shows the potential that it might have finished a correction for a 1, 2, 3, 4 and wave 5 to follow. The target areas where we have an overlap for the wave 3 target of the bigger pattern would be basically here, which offers, yeah, like close, let's say 80% return if right. Obviously the risk on the other side is also 50% or so. Yeah, one would have to set the stop loss at the low here of 0.00513. But yeah, definitely not the worst pattern that we've seen. NEO, interesting because we got the clear bounce from the top of the base channel, which happens to be the 78.6 retracement level. So we have, which also is within the target area for a wave C. So we have clear signs here that indeed we finished our correction and will now see our 5th wave up. Going to be interesting the next couple of days, especially to see if we get to see the 1, 2, 3 to develop. GameStop, as always, going to be interesting to see if I'm right here and we are now correcting, in which case the options that I wrote would play out nicely. So we now basically have our calls expiring here under the assumption that wave 4 will take until early December to retrace down here or at least here. And if we manage to retrace the 61.8%, again, we're not sure about that yet, then we would expect that the 5th wave takes till potentially end of January, and which means we would have a decent chance that our calls expire. So the covered calls that we sold, that those here expire worthless. And if they expire worthless, we technically have 600 shares of GameStop that we mostly paid for with premiums and can sell new covered calls at a higher strike price for a higher premium. So going to be some, on one hand, boring weeks ahead because we have to wait and see how this plays out. There are not going to be any adjustments to make. And on the other hand, it's going to be interesting couple of weeks, so till January, to see if I'm right with that bigger pattern or not. NEO is going to be interesting for the next, I would say, 2 weeks or so, since we're looking at the daily chart, to see if we get to see that pattern up or if I get proven wrong and we rush down. Stop loss here would, by the way, be at 368. Yeah, so I have around, what's that, $70 risk if I close that out here if I'm wrong. Whereas if I'm right, it would be at least $250 profit. So also what's that, 1, 2, 3 point something ratio, so not too bad. And best case it would be $400 something profit, so even better ratio. So definitely not too bad either. And as for the rest, yeah, we'll just wait and see. Ethereum is also going to be nice to watch, but on the crypto side, XYO is going to be the, although obviously more risk because it's not a primary coin like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but better payoff if I'm right. Whereas Ethereum, again, I expect that the entries at 2,980 and potentially 2,850 would pay off for this to be A, B, and C before we go further up. Again, but that's all just my opinion, not financial advice. Don't risk your house because I have a gut feeling of some kind. Yeah, do your own research, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, so yeah. Huh? Yeah, it doesn't fit right now. Yeah, so I'm still working on that. I always forget that we have our magic 8-ball here, but I still have to kind of like find the right routine to fit it into the stream, because now I could only ask him, am I going to be right or not? But then I would have to ask it for each individual stock. I was also, it, by the way, says signs point to yes. Yeah, so it agrees with me. But I was also thinking if I add the 8-ball prediction somewhere to our sheet that we used to keep track. But yeah, I think it would be a nice addition to the stream to have some completely random prediction as well, based on the 8-ball. So I make a prediction and the 8-ball says if it comes true or not. And then to see who is right more often, me or the 8-ball. Yeah. If the 8-ball is right more often, I can just make my analysis, but then trade based on what the 8-ball says. But yeah, so that's it for today. We'll see each other again tomorrow around 5 minutes before market open. Yeah, there's going to be still moving forward for the next couple of weeks for sure. A bunch of changes to the stream and the structure and everything. Again, I would like to incorporate the 8-ball a little bit. I would like to get a little bit in a flow of also sharing the predictions on stock tweets, because there they are keeping me accountable, so to say. And yeah, but we'll have to see how we do that and how that goes. I believe that we actually will finish this year with a decent return in our portfolio, even though it's not talking about millions of dollars here. Looking at our performance so far. Oh, the performance graph updated. Yeah. So no, that's like the wrong one. We need this one. So that's since I moved the portfolio. And we are right now here, so we can add actually those -12 to, it's the NASDAQ that's added here. Okay, interesting, yeah. So NASDAQ this year plus 27%, and actually since May, we have plus 60, actually plus 70 almost. So beating the NASDAQ quite brutally this year so far. And I believe that even if I'm partially wrong, so even if I'm wrong with GameStop and it rallies up sooner, then we get those shares called away at $30 per share, which still means another at least $1,500 that we get added to the balance, which means another 10% return for us here as well. And then we can sell cash secured puts, and all our other positions, so in Barnes & Noble, Immersion, Neo, and so on, are all relatively small. The biggest one is Cause with a $1,000 investment. They don't have such a huge impact. So as long as my analysis for GameStop is relatively correct, or even if I'm wrong and we rally up further or sooner, we're gonna finish this year with a decent return of maybe close to 100% in half a year. And we'll then have to see what the next year brings. Anyway, worst case, GameStop drops a lot, but then still, yeah, like could drop by 30% to bring us to break even. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope you all were able to take something away from today's stream. Now, which button do I have to press? This one. And then see you all tomorrow again, roughly 5 minutes before market opens. Don't forget, like, subscribe, enable notification, and then have a great rest of the day. Until tomorrow, bye-bye.